Tempest Rising was inspired by Command and Conquer, but was that inspiration wasted? If you play Command and Conquer, the story here is going to feel very familiar. GDI is now GDF, the Brotherhood of Nod is now the Tempest Dynasty, and Tiberium is Tempest, a strange plant that sprouted from the ground feeding off the radiation of the last World War. The world figures out a way to use Tempest as a resource, and so GDF and the Tempest Dynasty fight to control it. And just like Command and Conquer, the game's got two campaigns. While you can play the campaigns in either order, the story flows better if you play the GDF first, as the two campaigns run in tandem, and sometimes it feels like the Tempest campaign assumes you already know some of the twists the story takes, so the reveals aren't as built up. And when we start the GDF campaign, we see the first big difference between Tempest Rising and Command and Conquer. The cheesy over-the-top live-action cutscenes that I love so much have been replaced with full CGI, and they're not great. The characters are all forgettable, the mouth movements are unsettling, and it's pretty clear the developers knew this since several of the characters wear masks for no real reason. They did add some dialogue options to the cutscenes, but it's basically just so you can get some exposition, and there's no reason for it to be here. Anything we really needed to know could have just been added to the cutscene. After the briefing, we get a cutscene that kind of plays as an intro to the next mission, and we're into the actual gameplay. Gameplay is pretty familiar, standard RTS fare. There's more of a focus on mouse movements than hotkeys, which I appreciate, but you can use hotkeys to move your units around if you like. The units themselves are all pretty lackluster though. Tanks, cars, aircraft, foot soldiers, guns, grenades, flamethrowers, and you take your pretty uninspired units through 11 levels of each campaign. These missions are long. Now, maybe that's my general strategy of building as many tanks as I can and rolling them to the other side of the map, hoping the objective gets destroyed along the way, but every mission has primary and secondary objectives, and when you complete them, it unlocks more primary and secondary objectives. There were missions that took me over an hour on normal difficulty, but at least the missions have a lot of variety. The game really shines when it comes to mission types. You have to rescue hostages, repair an abandoned base, and use it to run the enemy out, attack convoys, escort specialists. And the specialist units are the one bright spot among a bunch of other standard units. Under the GDF, we have the sniper, the comms officer, who can act as a buff for your nearby units, the hijacker, who can take control of vehicles. Tempest side, we have the line officer, who also boosts troops, the operative with anti-vehicle weapons, and the commando, who can bring down airstrikes. The special abilities also extend to vehicles. Some vehicles have more than one mode, like the comms unit that can lay mines or be deployed to boost nearby units. Also, the Tempest Dynasty has this big ball that just rolls around the battlefield and it's ridiculous. Even some buildings can be upgraded, and upgrade is the name of the game here. Tempest Rising has added several features that let you buff your units outside of regular gameplay: intel, the armory, and doctrines. Completing objectives and missions earns you points that can be spent at the armory for global upgrades, more health for your units, more damage, self-repair upgrades. Doctrines takes the place of a tech tree. Completing a mission earns 1 point. You can use those points to equip different doctrines between missions and earn the occasional point reset if you feel like you went down the wrong road. Now, while the armory provides global upgrades and each side has its own doctrines, intel is strictly for the GDF. Unless you're playing the Tempest Dynasty and you capture GDF buildings. Some of their buildings generate intel passively, but you can also use the mark ability, causing a marked enemy to drop intel when they die. Intel can be used in-game to purchase buildings and powerful units. All these additions to the standard RTS loadout add some flavor and some strategy, but it's not all great. All these things I've mentioned, the CGI cutscenes, the forgettable characters, the standard units, it all makes it feel like Tempest Rising is missing something that was so memorable about the Command & Conquer series. Fun. Now don't get me wrong, Tempest Rising is a great game. It's got good mechanics, it's got solid gameplay, it has an interesting, if not completely original story, but it all feels so toned down from Command & Conquer. I want to see Kane monologuing like a Saturday morning cartoon villain. I want to drop a nuke. I want to shoot a laser from space. And it got even better in the Red Alert series with Tim Curry and George Takei.
I'm escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism. Space!
You disrespect yourself and your nation. You are made of stupid.
They were all so over the top, and I loved it. And give me a giant three-headed samurai robot stomping through a town any day. Those games were ridiculous in the best way possible, and Tempest Rising is just missing some of that magic. Considering we haven't had a new IP in the real-time strategy genre in years, if you're a fan of strategy games, pick this up. This is a good game, and I am so glad the developers were inspired to make it. And at $40, it's priced right. Hopefully this does well enough that they make an expansion in the future with a third campaign, which, if you've played Command & Conquer 4, also will feel very familiar. But if you missed the original Command & Conquer and its spin-offs, just go play them, because this ain't it. But I do give Ironworks credit for bringing back Frank Lepecki to work on the soundtrack, because he was the guy who did the soundtrack for the original Command & Conquer. But that's just what I think. Tell me what you think in the comments down below, good or bad, let me hear it. And while you're down there, if you could hit the like and subscribe buttons, I'd really appreciate it. I'll see you next time.